Well, why don't we go for it? Let's do it.
Well, the first one is like getting into trying to comp on the violin. So what I mean by that is like playing chords, either pizzicato, where you can do possibly four notes in if you're in the right tonalities, um, like with open strings and such. But also three or two and two. Actually, you could do that with the bow, or even three with the bow if you can play loud or make like you can hit three strings. So it's a nice way to learn the harmony of a standard or a piece, um, and get it into your head so that you don't have to think about the chorus, because I don't think you should think about the chorus. Or at least for myself, what I noticed that the tunes that I really know, I don't have to think about the chords, just hear the changes. So all those inner voices, right? Uh, so that's the melodies you come up with are fits fit in the harmony, but in a nice way. What I mean by a nice way is like it's not a it doesn't sound like an exercise, because actually like melodies, they're understood horizontally, so you don't have to arrive like on the first beat on each chord and be right on that chord. You can be you can do a lot of stuff with being a little bit too late, or with your resolution. You see that all the time when you listen to other players or you transcribe. You're like, oh yeah, okay, he's resolving on the third beat, on the one. And I find that if I find myself thinking about the chords, then it sort of gets in the way of. So it makes melodies sound more like exercises or like licks, you know, and less like someone who's actually improvising. So like yeah, it's really indirect way, but it can be really helpful, especially for violins, because we usually don't play chords. So yeah, that would be tip number one.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
think it's a really good tip, and it's one that I think sometimes it's for me. Well, I'll talk about my experience with it. It's something that I probably do now and can do now, but never having spent lots of time trying to do it, you know. And
mhm.
it wasn't something that I did when I was first getting into playing.
Yeah, yeah.
But now I'm at a point in my playing where I can, I'll play them on the bottom two strings, and I've worked, you work that out yourself.
Hmm.
The bottom two strings are the best ones to do it in because they're
Right.
nice and low and they don't get in the way.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And that what's funny is like that's something that I think a lot of violinists come to without do and just end up doing it. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
even on gigs. I not maybe not myself, but doing it on
Mm-hmm.
gigs, but never not consciously going. You know what? I'm going to spend loads of time doing comping. But so it's quite
Yeah,
interesting
yeah,
to hear it. That you think that it would be good to, to consciously try and spend lots of time doing that,
yeah.
and it makes
And
sense. It does make
yeah,
sense.
but it's not even like lots of time, but like just having that in your arsenal, so that in the end, after a few years, uh, you can comp pretty much any tune,
Yeah, yeah,
without thinking about it too
yeah.
much. And the cool thing when you're only playing two notes is uh, there are so many possibilities. Basically, you're improvising a really slow melody with two voices,
Hmm.
and that leads to nice ideas with improvisation, because a lot of good phrases I find are actually polyphonic, meaning that you hit a note up, and there's a middle voice, and maybe there's a bass going on, and it helps building melodies that like are more meaningful, maybe something like that. And so and the in my list, so I have a list. I have a few items,
Great.
and I think they are ordered quite logically, because the next one would be to record yourself. And what's good with comping is that you if you record yourself, then you can play with yourself, right? And I find that trying to make up your own background music can be fun too. It's way more challenging than just using a play along. And when you record yourself, the nice thing that happens is that you realize a lot of the stuff that you don't like in your playing, and also the maybe the sort of like phrases that you're really bored with. If you listen to them, there's something that happens that the next time you're playing with people, you just sort of skip them, because you've realized that you don't like them so much. I mean, to me at least, I think it helps a little bit, like yeah,
Hmm.
sorting out what you like, what you don't like, what you like but are fed up with, and
Yeah.
so you sort of forget it for a while, and waited for it to reappear.
Yeah. That makes loads of sense. I like that. Yeah. I mean, the recording yourself is a great tool. You know, something that comes up for me if I'm doing, say if I was to do a mixture of those two things, just not saying I don't think it's good, but sometimes what happens with me, I would do that. I would practice my comping, and
Hmm.
I'd be like, cool, let's do this backing track. I'd do the backing track,
Hmm.
and by the time and then I'd listen to it and I'd go, you're so out of tune, like or you've got to sort this out, and then suddenly I'll have so this is what happens when
Yeah.
I'm recording for me, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
As
Oh, yeah,
soon as
yeah.
I do it, I go, oh my god, that's so
No, that's
bad.
what
You
I'm
need
talking
to,
about. Like,
yeah. But
because
what?
it confronts you with the reality of your playing,
Yeah,
and then there's a lot of motivation to be gained from that. And
yeah,
certainly, I would say to people, don't let yourself, like, especially if it's the first time you're hearing yourself properly in the mic, you're going to feel pretty bad about it,
yeah,
most likely. It's
yeah.
normal. It's normal. Everybody has that. It's just that reality hits you, because everybody hears themselves like they would like to sound, and then suddenly it's like, yeah, you sound like that. uh,
Hmm.
so, and it's don't let, yeah, I would say to people, don't let it get you down. It's normal to feel like that. Just use it to be motivated, and the things you want to work out and work on um, become so much urgent and clear. So, and suddenly you feel like, you don't feel like you're stuck, you don't know what to do with your violin. You're like, oh, I have so much to do,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
which
No,
is a good feeling
my
to have.
point is a little bit that when I do things like that, often I will start it and then I'll never get into doing what I was wanting to do. Say I wanted to
Yeah,
say I wanted to make that backing track and have like a great time playing on it. I'm probably never gonna I'd
yeah,
never
yeah,
get
oh,
there, you know.
totally. Yeah,
'Cause
totally. Which is totally the point, actually.
yeah, nice. Yeah, it's
Yeah, yeah,
cool.
yeah,
I
yeah,
like
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. It's totally the point.
Yeah. Um.
And also, recording makes you practice more seriously, because you practice, but then you want to do another take, and then you want to see results. So
Yeah.
suddenly, you're really thinking about efficiency, like getting there,
Yeah.
and quick, and in a nice way. So yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, it saves so much time. Like you don't yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that's cool. So yeah, recording yourself and recording your own backing tracks.
Yeah.
Nice.
So in the same idea, sometimes playing a little bit of another instrument can be helpful as well.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to do your own comping, like background music to practice on, uh, and uh, and when you've done all that, uh, never forget to play with people, because I see a lot of people that, nowadays with YouTube and all of these other apps that you can play with, it's like, yeah, but you have to play with people. I mean, the interaction, it's what's fun in in playing jazz, especially. Like,
Yeah.
somebody does something, and so challenge yourself, I would say, to people, to meet some people, book some sessions. Don't be afraid to go to jams. Like, try to play with people who are better than you, and also with people who are maybe less skilled, and try to have a balanced musical life, um, because that brings motivation, inspiration as well, I think. So yeah, don't forget to that. In the end, the idea is to play with people and have fun, right?
Yeah.
No matter what the motivation, and no matter if you're aiming at being a professional musician, or if it's just a hobby for you, it doesn't matter really.
Hmm.
I think music is meant to be shared with people, uh, not just sitting in front of a computer. So,
No, I agree.
so
Playing in front of people is a big game. I think that's one of the biggest game changers for me.
uh-huh.
Actually, that's something that I think is important. Is because I think I play, like, if I go to a rehearsal, I find it really hard to take solos because I'm like, it's fucking taking a solo or whatever. I don't know if it's a good thing, that, but I find it very difficult in rehearsals to improvise. But when
Ah, okay.
not that I can't, but there's this performing side that's very important to, I think, to
Right.
to
Yeah,
musicians.
yeah, 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 yeah.
That as soon as you're gonna probably not play all the stuff that you
I totally see
think you're
what you
gonna
mean. Yeah,
play when someone's
yeah, yeah.
listening to you. You're probably gonna you open out a bit. You're gonna play what come to me. I when someone's listening to me, I open out and play what comes naturally
Right.
because it's a little bit like a not like a panic thing, but it's sort of like, okay, like let's just do what's gonna work, what's gonna sound good, and then I
Right.
play like that, and I think that that's
Yeah, yeah,
quite
yeah.
do you know what I mean? It's quite an
Oh,
important
I
thing as
totally
well.
see what you mean. Yeah, I totally see what you mean. Like, also when you're rehearsing, it's like there are arrangements
Mm.
and yeah, it's like almost not wanting to waste time doing
Yeah,
soloing, but I would argue, sometimes I'm the one in rehearsals, like, let's play a full version, guys, because uh, there's interesting stuff to be, but yeah, the ideal way to do that is just maybe like quit the rehearsal room and go drink a beer in
yeah,
a place where you can play,
yeah,
in a bar or whatever, and
yeah,
um, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, and I like there's always one person in the rehearsal who's you there, who's like, guys, let's improvise, let's have and I'm
Yeah.
glad when that person's there. But myself, that I'm quite bad for just be like, oh, let's carry on. I find it, I don't know what it is. Anyway, we'll
Yeah,
move
yeah,
on. I wanted to add to that. That was all.
yeah. Okay. I don't know. I covered almost everything.
Oh,
Ah, yeah.
cool.
Another one that I like is active listening. So it's not just like transcribing a solo. It's just whenever you listening to music, like really trying to be aware of the tune, the changes, what that person is playing, and like if you like something, like going back and trying to memorize it. Uh, I find that quite helpful. Sometimes it's sufficient to actually learn, because it's not like new stuff has to be complicated. Sometimes a really nice idea is really simple, and you don't even have to practice it. You'll be like, oh, it's so nice. He's doing that on that chord, and it's a cool idea, and just making the effort to be conscient of what's going on is enough sometimes to actually steal it. So yeah, and pretty much that's it. I guess
Nice.